Okay, hello there everyone again. This is RC. I'm going to do a video here on alignment. Alignment's not nearly as complicated, especially since I've already done a video on neutrality and control. Basically, you're not neutral and you're not under control anymore. You become aligned. I kind of touched on this in those ones, but two or more nations are aligned when they meet certain conditions. Major powers that are the same alliance will align with each other when they are at war with the same major power. Minor powers can also align to major powers when they are attacked by an enemy player or they meet a certain alignment condition. You'll be able to find those in the tables 4-4, 4-5, 4-6 in the rulebook. That's the tables that describe who aligns to who under what special conditions, one for each alliance. All right. Now for the alliances, there's 3 alliances in the game. You got the Axis, which are the Germans, the Italians, and then way over here, the Japanese. You've got the Comintern, which is the USSR and is controlled minor CCP, and controlled minor in Spain. And then you have the Allies, which is the USA, the British Commonwealth, all of it as one major power, and France. All right, so that's 3 versus 1. That's how the major powers work out. But that's the main 3 alliances, right? But you don't become a member of that alliance until you're both actually at war with the same person, right? So an enemy is anybody you are at war with each other, right? So you're actively at war. You can now attack each other, fly over each other's land zones, all that other stuff. You can't do any of that when you're neutral. You can't fly over it, nothing. All right. Friendly is a possession of yours, right? Possession of a nation, your units, facilities, and land zones. And they are only friendly for a few reasons. 1, if they're possessed by yourself. And 2, if they're possessed by an aligned nation, right? So the French can't get reinforcements in anticipation of a German attack in France until France and the British Commonwealth are both at war with Germany already. Or maybe they're both at war with Italy. Or they're both at war with Japan. Or they're both at war with Russia. But they got to be both at war with the same person. All right, before you can treat each other differently. Until then, they have to treat each other like neutrals. No flying over, no landing, no nothing. All right. After there's a declaration of war, somehow or another somebody declares war on the other party, then you're both going to be at war with each other. All right. So that's an important thing. You got to both be at war with Germany. Now, I had some examples of how you align or how to control something. I'm just going to use the Belgian example again. All right. So let's say Germany's already taken Belgium, as you can see by the roundel I put on Belgium's home country, which means that this is currently controlled, another Belgian place, Belgian Congo, and the unit is still here, controlled by the British, right? So let's just say that, so Germany is at war with Belgium, but the British aren't. That's why it's controlled, right? So now let's say Germany decides to attack France. Or say that they're at war with France. Well, when France and Britain are in an alliance, so if we declare war on one, you declare war on both, right? So that would now mean that by Germany declaring war on France, it's also declared war on Great Britain as a result of the sheets, right? The reference sheets, which means now Britain is at war with Germany and it controls Belgium, who's also at war with Germany. So what you do here is you do this little fancy switcheroo here where you throw down a roundel, you move the British income up a buck or whatever that this is worth, and you swap that unit out for a British dude. All right, so that's what alignment means. When it becomes aligned, it's basically yours. It's your roundels, your guys, the same as the rest of your nation. All right, for a minor, right? Now, obviously, the British and the French, being 2 major powers controlled by 2 different players, are going to stay blue and tan, right? So that's just for a minor, all right? Now, I'm not sure if I need anything else here. Possession ownership, covered that. Alliances, I went over that briefly. Lining and whatnot. Now, that table 4-2 that I was talking about, that tells you what you can do when you control somebody as a miner. It also says in here, in the same table, if a nation is a member of your alliance, you must return possession of a land zone you capture from an enemy to your own alliance member if that land zone has their roundel printed on it. All right. So if the French capture Belgium from the Germans, they don't have to give it to the British because it doesn't have the British roundel on it. So so the French can keep it. All right. But let's say the Germans had taken Picardy here, and if the British say the British take it back, they cannot put a British roundel on it because France is a member of their alliance. It has to go back to France because that's what's printed on the map. All right, does that make sense? It's basic enough. It's not too complicated, but, you know, it allows things to happen. Anyway. Major powers that are aligned to one another may give or deny access or permission for units to use those nations of each other to move through, fly over land zones they possess, including straits, canals, railways, rivers, supply paths. You can't just assume that the British player is going to allow the French player to ride on the rails here. He's got to ask and get permission. All right, even if you're aligned. New thing from version 3 here that was not in version 2. It allows you to defend together when attacked in a land or sea zone. That was already there. But it also adds this: use each other's bases and shipyards for purposes of movement and repair. That's kind of handy. That means if the Americans come all the way across the ocean here and they're aligned to the British, they can use these Navy bases that the British own for a movement bonus. But that also means that the Germans could use the Italian bases for a movement bonus. They could also repair ships at their dockyards if they happen to have one. I know they have one somewhere here. Right there. There we go. There's a nice dockyard right there. So the Americans could get their ships fixed there or up there in the British shipyards. But of course, that's going to limit their ability to build anything, right? So you need to get permission for that first, I'm assuming. So yeah, you have the 3 alliances. I've gone over briefly how they align. I'm going to do a separate video on those alliances to go into more detail on them. But essentially what you really needed to know is how control turns back into alignment, how you're not aligned until you're at war with the same major power, right? Kind of went over this. Same thing would apply here in Abyssinia. Right? Unless the French or unless the Italians are at war, join the Germans in the war, this doesn't become French. This stays as it is, right? But yeah, that's a quick run over on alignment and the difference between control and neutrality. All right, so I'm going to leave you there. So until you're aligned, you cannot fly over or land in each other's zones unless you declare war on each other. And your reference sheets will tell you whether you can declare war on somebody and when and how and all that fancy stuff. I'll go over those in some later videos. But there you go, alignment. That's the general gist of it. If you guys got any questions, comments, ideas, things you want me to look into, fire it in the comments. I look at those, I actually read them. And other than that, this is RC saying see you later. Enjoy your game.